Hey, what's going on, everybody? Time once again to do another fast and loose big brush style watercolor. If you're just watching my channel for the first time, I use a Japanese hake brush, and we do it fast and loose, which means no drawing, low on the details. And so the first thing we do is, this is a sheet of 15 by 11 Canson XL. It's not expensive watercolor paper. And the first thing I do is I wet the paper down, and I do it at least 3 times. You don't have to do it quite as wet. This is what I found works best for me. Sometimes 3 times is a little bit too wet, but I find that it does work for me. So the first thing I like to do is I like to lay in some raw sienna. This has been used since early man. Very old color. It's good for laying in and lubricating the paper. Sometimes you can even shape the scene, and it's good for doing light coming through the skies. It's a really great color just for starting out. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to do some clouds in the sky. We're going to take some ultramarine blue and a little bit of Payne's gray, and we're just going to lay in some clouds, and we're going to leave some area here for light to create some drama in the sky. It's something appealing that brings your eye into the picture. And you bring a little clouds into there. Clouds should get smaller as they get closer to the bottom. If you're going to have any sort of water in the bottom, you can add that now. You don't have to commit just yet, but you can still lay in a foreground in the bottom there. So there is our sky that we've laid in. We've got the basics of it. You do a little bit more of a Payne's gray, and you can actually add even a little bit more drama to the clouds. And you can make an even more dramatic effect if you want to make it even darker. Depends on the kind of scene that you're doing. So there we have that. And we'll give it a little dry. Sometimes you might want to tap little areas that look like they're running down. It sometimes can cause a distraction when you're seeing the running of the paint coming down. So that's all we're going to do with that. Now we're going to put in some distant trees. We're going to have the trees sort of running to the back here, small. Don't want real big trees. We want it to look like it's pretty far back there. This is going to be a pretty big open scene. And then we're going to have a little bit of neutral, or Payne's gray. I say neutral tint sometimes. You can use that. And then we're going to have just sort of this little bit of a shoreline here. I'm going to try to have some water coming around this way. When we get over to here, we're going to take some brown. We're going to bring this in. Some darker greens here to create a secondary layer in front of these trees. Just grab yellows and different things that you would use. Try to blend it a little bit so you don't have too many dots going on. All right, back to our brown and a little raw sienna. So we're going to have just this little strip of water coming through here. And what I like to do sometimes is I'll take some raw sienna, because it's a light color, and I'll just kind of sketch in where I think the land is going to be. So I think I'm going to have like this water coming through here. We could have a little bit of water back there, it's okay. So this will ultimately be land here. So we want a little bit of grasses and greens in through here. this is going to come to here. So we have sort of this river kind of coming out here. I'm going to put a bigger tree in over here eventually, so that kind of cuts that out. I kind of want that to look like it's going across. A little bit more greenery going through over here. And some burnt umber coming through here. So we got like a little bit of a river coming down here. And we'll put, I'm going to put some vegetation in through here coming out. And we'll put some sticks coming through here. A little bit of Van Dyke brown through here. This looks like sort of random vegetation. Same thing back in over here. Put this in here. Same thing, we'll put some sticks in there. And just darken it up toward the ground bottom part here. So it looks a little shadowy, just a little bit. A little bit of grasses down in over here. So we have our water sort of running out to this area here. Now let's start putting a little bit of shoreline in here. Taking some brown, and we're going to bring this out. Want there to look like there's little jetties coming out, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. That can come out just a little bit more. Take a little bit of Payne's gray and sort of define it. Don't worry about these little dots that come out if your brush isn't perfectly straight. You can straighten your brush out by flattening like that. But it's fine if there's a little bit, because little things do stick up toward the water there. So there we have that. A little bit more burnt umber. I want to try to get some more browns and greens down in here. So there's our water coming through here. Let's define this edge just a little bit. You know, and as usual, I kind of work from imagination. So as I go along, I'm sort of making some of this stuff up, and you can make it however you want. But sit around imagining different scenes, and eventually you'll be able to do different scenes like this. So now I'll put a little bit of a tree here. Just a little bit of a distant tree. And we'll put a bigger one here. Gotta have trees in the picture. I know I get a little redundant with this stuff, but when you make them, you can lay them out any way that you want. Put in whatever you want anywhere. Put a little bit of that there. And if you like, you can take and put some rocks along the shore, kind of pull it down a little bit, and you can get a rocky, sort of a rocky shore there. And we'll come back and we'll dab that in. Here's our defined tree. Come back to that too. And there's that. We'll come back and we'll sort of dab that a little bit. Just so either the light's catching it or you're seeing some bark. And then we'll come back with our number 3 rigger. You can use a number 1 for this, being these trees are a little smaller. If you want like finer branches. And just some squiggles and wiggles for the branches. I'll be covering them up with some leaves anyways. And we'll do this side where I've already started them. Don't worry about doing them perfectly. Do you ever stand and just look at the little wisps of branches on a tree? Probably not that closely. Wouldn't be a bad idea to see how they are. but there's thousands of them. You're not going to get them all. So there's our two trees. I like to come back and I'll put a little sticks down in the bottom. Take this and we'll make some grass effects down in our wet paint. Might put something over here, I don't know. Something like a big rock or something of some kind. And we'll come back and touch some of that up. A little burnt umber so that it doesn't look so dark. I have a habit of making my foreground so dark. Alright, so the next thing is, what color are you going to do for your leaves? We've got a kind of a green brownish scheme going on here. Well, I'll start with some cadmium yellow. It's probably a little dirty. Oh, just get some leaves going on this tree. Add a little blue. And then finally some Payne's Gray in the shadowy areas. Bring it out. And then over here we'll add a little bit more yellow, maybe a little raw sienna, just to vary it a little bit. I don't want the tree leaves looking exactly the same. Just kind of go over where these branches are. Add a little bit more blue, Payne's Gray. And there's our other tree. Take a little bit of that yellow. We'll just add some variation in the grasses down here while I've got this on the brush. A little bit of shadow. Just a little shadow. I don't like to overwhelm it with shadows. But I'll add some grasses down here. And then finally we'll go with a couple little birds. Kind of one guy up real high. And then last but not least, we'll give her a sign. And that's pretty much it. It's a different sort of a scene. No mountains in the background this time, but we do have water, and we have the water, it looks like it's flowing in past through here. Now, something you can do is you can actually sweep through. You can make this water more intense if you want. You can add little strokes to make it look like there's little ripples along the river here. You can take this back in. If you're doing this outside, you go back in the studio and you can do all those little details if you want to, or you could just call this finished. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. At the end will be a close-up of the dried painting. Thanks again. Subscribe, comment, etc. Thanks again.